a kid, I was always fascinated by cars. Till today, of course. From how they move, sound, look, and emotion it carries. Completely ignorant to the complexity and developmental design of a particular model of car, amongst other things. But then, the obsession of these feelings on wheels come from the greatest minds to ever roam planet Earth. Visionaries of note that changed the idea of transportation forever. Crude ideas and designs of automobiles can be traced back to ancient and medieval times. Before having today's plush quality in motoring craftsmanship and innovation, having given us the closest feeling of wafting on a cloud-like experience. It is said and believed, depending on who you ask, that transportation was fulfilled by teleportation, unicorns, brooms, and riding the casual wild animals to get where you need to be. Well, we weren't there to see it all happen to our satisfaction, but today's cars certainly do give one the closest feeling to the forms of transportation I just mentioned indeed. That's how far we've actually come. I am a former athlete myself, and generally speaking, I know I can outrun and outcompete a lot of people, given how things are much convenient in times of today. Back then, people used to walk for thousands and thousands of kilometers, something I cannot seem to wrap my head around entirely, to using domesticated animals like cattle, horses and donkeys. I don't think I would have been able to survive that point in time, but you will be surprised and amazed at how much one can actually achieve when you push your body harder than what you thought you could. A car or an automobile is a motor vehicle with wheels. Most definitions of cars say that they run primarily on roads, seat 1 to 8 people, have 4 wheels, and mainly transport people, not cargo. Cars have controls for driving, parking, passenger comfort, and a variety of lights. Over the decades, additional features and controls have been added to vehicles, making them progressively more complex. These include rear-view reversing cameras, air conditioning, navigation systems, and in-car entertainment. In 1649, Hans Hodge of Nuremberg built a clockwork-driven carriage. In 1672, a small-scale steam-powered vehicle was created. The first steam-powered automobile capable of human transportation was built by Nicholas Joseph Cognot in 1769. Inventors then began to branch out at the start of the 19th century, creating the Derivaults engine, one of the first internal combustion engine and an early electric motor. Samuel Brown later tested the first industrially applied internal combustion engine in 1826. Only 2 of these were made. Development was hindered in the mid-19th century by a backlash against large vehicles, yet progress continued on some internal combustion engine. The engine evolved as engineers created 2- and 4-cycle combustion engines and began using gasoline. The first modern car, a practical, marketable automobile for everyday use, and the first car in series production appeared in 1886 when Carl Benz developed a gasoline-powered vehicle and made several identical copies. From 1886, many inventors and entrepreneurs got into the horseless carriage business, both in America and Europe. And since then, inventions and innovations rapidly furthered the development and production of automobiles. Ransom E. Olds founded Oldsmobile in 1897 and introduced the carved dash Oldsmobile in 1901. Olds pioneered the assembly line using identical, interchangeable parts, producing thousands of Oldsmobiles by 1903. Although sources differ, approximately 19,000 Oldsmobiles were built, with the last produced in 1907. Production likely peaked from 1903 through 1905, at up to 5,000 units a year. In 1908, the Ford Motor Company further revolutionized automobile production by developing and selling its Ford Model T at a relatively modest price. From 1913, introducing an advanced moving assembly line allowed Ford to lower the Model T's price by almost 50%, making it the first mass affordable automobile. As a result, Ford's cars came off the line in 15-minute intervals, much faster than previous methods, increasing productivity eightfold, while using less manpower, from 12.5 man-hours to 1 hour 33 minutes. It was so successful that paint became a bottleneck. Only Japan Black would dry fast enough, forcing the company to drop the variety of colors available before 1913, until fast-drying Duco lacquer was developed in 1926. This is the source of Ford's apocryphal remark, "Any color as long as it's black." In 1914, an assembly line worker could buy a Model T with 4 months' pay. Ford's complex safety procedures, especially assigning each worker to a specific location instead of allowing them to roam about, dramatically reduced the rates of injury. The combination of high wages and the high efficiency is called Fordism, and was copied by most major industries. The efficiency gains from the assembly line also coincided with the economic rise of the US. The assembly line forced workers to work at a certain pace, with very repetitive motions which led to more output per worker, while other countries were using less productive methods. In the automotive industry, its success was dominating and quickly spread worldwide, seeing the founding of the Ford France and Ford Britain in 1911, Ford Denmark in 1923, Ford Germany 1925. In 1921, Citroën was the first native European manufacturer to adopt the production method. Soon, companies had to have assembly lines or risk going broke. By 1930, 250 companies, which did not, had disappeared. Development of automotive technology was rapid, due in part to the hundreds of small manufacturers competing to gain the world's attention.
It was the product of the world's first assembly line. The more cars produced, the less each one cost. Profits rose, car prices dropped. The demand for Model Ts rose as the workers themselves began to buy them. By the 1920s, 80% of all cars in America were Model Ts. The Lizzie seemed eternal. It had lost all its brass. It came only in black. By the time it was retired in 1927, there were 15 million of them in a world they had much changed.
Key developments included electric ignition and the electric self-starter, both by Charles Kettering for the Cadillac Motor Company in 1910 to 1911, independent suspension and the four-wheel brakes. Since the 1920s, nearly all cars have been mass-produced to meet market needs, so marketing plans often have heavily influenced car design. It was Alfred P. Sloan who established the idea of different makes of cars be produced by one company, called the General Motors Competition Make Program, so that buyers could move up as their fortunes improved. Even so, only major makers could afford high costs, and even companies with decades of production, such as Apperson, Cole, Doris, Haynes, or Premier, could not manage. Of some 200 American car makers in existence in 1920, only 43 survived in 1930. And the Great Depression, by 1940, only 17 of those were left. Upcoming vehicles do not necessarily include all concept cars that sometimes appear in car show circuits, or speculative vehicles that appear in automotive news media, unless the manufacturer specifically states in external press releases to the media that such a concept vehicles represent probable production vehicles in a certain future time frame. However, considering where it all began, it is all the more likely to witness some seriously astonishing concepts that are yet to grace our presence, continuously refining and innovating how we move from point A to point B.